yeah, we're going to start talking about that, about this poor doctor. And I say poor doctor, I mean, you know, I don't think he's sorry about what he said, and he shouldn't be, because he said, well, it turned out it was exactly true as well, what he said. And where are we? Let me find it. You know, he knew straight away. I mean, the hospital. Now, just to remind people, I'm not obviously going to go through the whole story. I'm sure most of you know the story of the mushroom murderess invited her ex-husband's relatives round to lunch. Well, she wanted him to come as well. He would have been dead now as well if he would have come round. But she invited 4 of his relatives round for lunch. She served them up a beef Wellington that was laced with poisonous mushrooms. 3 of these poor people died. Don and Gail Patterson, her ex-husband or her estranged husband's parents, and Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson. And Heather's husband, Ian, was the only person to survive. So now, the thing is, of course, the hospital did really well in finding out really quickly that it was death cap mushroom poisoning and not just gastroenteritis or some sort of stomach bug. And, because, of course, Erin Patterson, the mushroom murderess, she'd been at the lunch as well, but she wasn't ill. Funnily enough, that, isn't it? Strangely enough, she wasn't ill. And she had prepared these beef Wellingtons all individually. That's another thing. A beef Wellington is not a dish that's normally prepared individually. It's normally prepared one sort of log of beef covered with the mushroom paste and that, and then the pastry. But Erin decided to prepare individual beef Wellingtons and put them on different coloured plates. So luckily, because Ian Wilkinson survived, the surviving witness, he could give testimony to that. She said she didn't put them on different coloured plates. But Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor, he said his wife and the other 2 victims were given grey plates, and Erin had a smaller plate and a different colour plate. She said no. Remember, she said everybody else was lying except her, even though she admitted lying about everything else. The most biggest lie, of course, is that she said she told them she had cancer. So let's not forget what she did. She invited these very nice, decent people round for lunch. She served them all up poison and knew they were dead from the minute that they had, they were dead people walking from the minute they finished that meal. She sat there with them. She watched them eat every mouthful. She then let them pray for her because she told them she had cancer, which was a lie, complete lie. They all sat there and prayed for her, and inside, as they were praying, when you think about that, as they were praying for Erin, this poison was killing them, had started off killing them, because death cap mushrooms, they kill people slowly. They didn't get properly ill till late. That was around about midday. They didn't get properly ill till late that night. And then they died agonizing deaths. Diarrhea, vomiting, pain, their vital organs closed down. And Ian only survived because they gave him a liver transplant. And luckily for him, he was strong enough to survive with it. Whereas Don was also given a transplant, but he was already too far gone. And Heather and Gail were not well enough to have a transplant. Their liver had just died inside them. This is the reality of what this bitch, sorry, excuse my French, this woman had done. That is the nastiness of what she'd done. And then she set about trying to cover it all up, didn't she? Set about trying to cover it all up. She told lie after lie. She cast aspersions on other people, calling them liars. She tried to blame the Asian supermarket. where it said that she'd bought these mushrooms in an Asian supermarket. She sent the environmental health off on a wild goose chase, trying to chase down where they'd been bought, because of course, you know, there might be more out there that could kill other people. So yeah, absolute twonk. But she's another word that begins with B that you're not supposed to put on you, or C, actually. She's a horrible, horrible person. Anyway, what's happened, this doctor, when it came to the trial, I think he testified, Christopher Webster, he did actually testify at the trial. Let's just have it. This was, oh, so yeah, she wasn't ill at all. She tried to pretend she had a little bit of diarrhea. She didn't. And she went to the hospital, and as soon as they mentioned death cap mushrooms to her, she said she had to go, because she had to go and tidy up the crime scene, didn't she? Anyway, so even though she'd been told that she may die as well or need a transplant, because she'd eaten the same lunch supposedly, she insisted on going because she had to sort the animals out and sort out her daughter's ballet bag. You know, this, you know, it's just really, the more you think about it, the more ridiculous the whole thing is. And also because her children supposedly had eaten leftovers from the lunch, they told her that her children needed to go to hospital and get checked out, and she was very reluctant to take them. I mean, you'd be hysterical, wouldn't you? You know, your relatives are dying on a meal that you've cooked and your children ate the leftovers from, and she's prevaricating about taking her children to hospital. I mean, the more you think about it, the more obvious it is. Let's just see this video a minute. Yeah, so they're trying to stop her from leaving. And she's like, no, she's going. That's it. She's going. She's got to do her daughter's ballet bag. Come on, I've got to pack my daughter's ballet bag. So in the end, they said to her she'd have to sign a paper. Oh, Erin, I've not seen that before. Discharge at own risk. I am leaving. Yeah, she's thinking there. What am I going to do with the plates? You know what? Oh God, got to get rid of the plates. Got to get rid of the food dehydrator that she told police she'd never had. It doesn't look very nice. I suppose it is the leftovers.
I have a concern regarding a patient that presented here earlier but has left the building and is potentially exposed to a fatal toxin from mushroom poisoning. And I've tried several times to get hold of her on her mobile phone. Mushroom poisoning, you said?
So then this doctor, Chris Webster, this is him on the audio, he phoned the police because he was worried about her. But really, I think, you know, looking back now, he knew straight away when she went. So he phoned the police about it because he was so convinced that it was not normal. I mean, he had patients that were dying. And he's trying to put over the urgency to Erin, and she just decides she's going. Ridiculous.
Your mobile phone, mushroom poisoning, you said? Yeah, so there were 5 people that ate a meal on Saturday, and 2 of them are in intensive care at Dandenong Hospital. 2 have just been transferred from Leongatha Hospital to Dandenong Hospital, and Erin presented this morning with symptoms of poisoning. While I was attending the other patients, the nurse informed me that she had discharged herself against medical advice.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So I think I might have missed a couple of people coming in there. Just let me say hello. Hi, Admit. Hi, Lily. Oh, hope you get well soon. Sorry, that's Admit I'm talking to. Hope feel better soon. I think I haven't missed anybody else. If I do miss you coming in, just come and say hello again, because sometimes when I'm talking, I don't notice people coming in. Okay, so yeah, doctor penalised for calling the mushroom murderer a disturbed sociopath. He went a little bit further than that, actually. So an Australian doctor who raised the alarm about Erin Patterson has been sanctioned by the medical regulator over disparaging comments made about the triple murderer. Chris Webster was a key witness in Patterson's trial, at which a jury found her guilty of killing 3 relatives and attempting to kill another with a deadly mushroom lunch in 2023. And after the verdicts, Dr. Webster told the BBC that Patterson, now serving a life sentence, was a heinous individual and called her a disturbed sociopathic nutbag. Now, I mean, even though it's true, of course, that is perhaps, maybe he shouldn't have said that. I don't know. A disturbed sociopathic nutbag. Do you think that's a little bit far for a doctor to go? Even though it is true, of course. And he called her that in an interview with the Herald Sun, which is an Australian newspaper. So the Medical Board of Australia found that his actions were inappropriate and ordered that the general practitioner undergo ethics, privacy and social media training. An investigation was launched when the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency received a flood of complaints about Dr. Webster's media interviews and use of explicit language. Now, what do you mean a flood of complaints? Who's going to complain about that, really? I mean, really? Because she was sociopathic nutbag. You know, she's murdered 3 people, though maybe then she hadn't been found guilty yet. I don't know. Anyway, Dr. Webster, good for him. Here he is. Dr. Webster, good for you. He told the BBC on Friday he understood and accepted the decision from the regulators, who have not publicly commented on his case, but he listed the conditions on a public register. As far as my comments go, I stand by them, said Dr. Webster, who still works as a GP in Patterson's hometown of Leongatha in regional Victoria. He said that regulators did not find any breach of patient confidentiality, as he was talking about things that had been openly discussed in the murder trial. I was found to be inappropriate in my professionalism, he said, and that has to do with the use of salty language and my use of social media. You know, and I sort of see that. I mean, he's a doctor at the end of the day. I mean, it's different if I come on here and call her a sociopathic nutbag or whatever it was. But I suppose you don't expect a doctor to say that. But, you know, he's a human being and he was right. He was right, of course. Anyway, let me know what you think in comments. Do you think he was... do you think it's not right that he's been... reprimanded, or do you think he should have been reprimanded? So then it goes on to talk about the actual case. Earlier this month, Patterson was sentenced to life with no chance of release for at least 33 years, not long enough, for the murder of her in-laws Don and Gail and Gail's sister Heather. She was also found guilty of trying to kill Heather's husband Ian. So Dr. Webster treated the Wilkinsons at a tiny hospital in Leongatha before their mushroom poisoning was identified and they were urgently transferred to a major Melbourne facility. He also saw Patterson, who claimed to have gastro-like symptoms, at the hospital, and he says he knew she was guilty almost immediately. Now, I think, what we have to remember about doctors is they're dealing with people day in, day out. Hi, Paul. They're dealing with people day in, day out, and they get an intuition. People get intuitions, don't they, according to their profession? Doctors have to be intuitive because often, someone will describe their symptoms, but, until blood tests come back or things, they don't know exactly what's wrong with people. They have to use their intuition to gauge what's wrong with people. And so they must hone it over the years. I mean, he's been a doctor for a long time. He's not just a recently qualified doctor. And that was his instinct that he got from her immediately. And he was right in his instinct. I knew, he told the BBC. I thought, okay, yeah, you did it, you heinous individual. You've poisoned them all. Sorry, I'm just laughing at how I like people who talk straight. Do you know what I mean? He's talking straight. Maybe that's not appropriate for a doctor. You'll let me know what you think, but I like people who say it as it is, or at least how they think it is. I have no problem with that. An audio recording of his call to police about her decision to discharge herself from hospital against medical advice was played at the trial. And the investigation concluded that Dr. Webster must do at least 8 hours of training in topics, including professionalism and ethics, professional communication, privacy and confidentiality, and social media. Oh, this social media, it's got a lot to answer for, isn't it? It's got a lot to answer for. It's responsible for everything. He must also be mentioned by another doctor for 5 hours a month. Oh, mentored. I thought it said mentioned. He also must be mentored by another doctor for 5 hours a month for a period of 1 year. He said he called it an onerous condition, which might require him to take 1 day off every week to travel to Melbourne, and could mean he has less time with patients. Ultimately, the community is getting punished as well, and that's disappointing, he said. There's never been any question about my competency and skills as a doctor. It's all about my attitude and presentation. And maybe in this modern world, that kind of thinking might be a bit archaic. Doctors are human beings. And of course, this is true, isn't it? We say it about the police as well. All these professions we expect quite a lot from, don't we? But they are just people. At the end of the day, they're people. There'll be good doctors, bad doctors, there's evil doctors, there's fabulous doctors, there's evil policemen, there's fantastic policemen. Just like there are with teachers or plumbers or electricians, these are people. They're not gods, they're not above anything, and they have human frailties, but they also have the good, nice things about being human. There are nice things about being human. So, it's true. Doctors are human beings, and he said what he thought, didn't he? And he was right as well. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, he was right. I mean, she is a sociopathic nut job or whatever. She's murdered 3 people and nearly another. She sat there and watched them eat what was going to kill them. Probably give him a kiss as they went, or see you soon, knowing that she was never going to see him again. She let them pray for her when she had cancer. So I think she is, you can't argue with his assessment. She's a sociopathic nut job. She's an evil, evil woman. So that's why I think, mate, if he'd said that about someone, there was no evidence to suggest that they were. Like you could call someone that said, they're a psycho, or they're this, or they're that. And it might just be that you don't like them, or, maybe an experience you had with them, but maybe, they haven't actually murdered anybody. So, but it is true that what he said is true as well, isn't it? But I think it's because he's a doctor. Like if a window cleaner came out and said that about her, he wouldn't get crossed off the window cleaners list, would he? Or told to do a course, or we can all go on social media and call Erin sociopathic nut job and not be pulled up about it. But because he's a doctor, they are held to a code of conduct, I suppose. Anyway, so yeah, let me know what you think. I'm open to whatever anyone thinks. I think it probably shouldn't have said it, in public like that. But then is that like, but it was true. what he said. So if it was, as I say, if it wasn't true or there was no evidence for it, I would say definitely shouldn't have said it. But because it was right. But it's his profession, isn't it? Should doctors be above that kind of thing? Not, I suppose it's like a police, a law enforcement person. You wouldn't expect them to go on social media and say someone was a sociopathic nut job either, would you? Even if it was clear that there were. So maybe there are just some professions that shouldn't say things like that. People do expect things from you, I think, if you're a certain profession. Those of you who know me, I'm a Spanish teacher. That's what I've been doing for the last 25 years, really, teaching Spanish. And I always found it's quite difficult, like when you go out on a night out or whatever and you have a few drinks and people don't expect teachers to sort of let their hair down or, they don't think, oh, you're a teacher, even though I'm not. I do teach some children, but I'm not I'm not a teacher at a school for children. I teach adults mostly. But yeah, there is this sort of, you think, oh no, that's my Spanish teacher, and and there's me. I've had a few vinos and I'm singing on karaoke or whatever. It feels inappropriate somehow, but so yeah, I used to say to my friends, don't tell anyone I'm a Spanish teacher. Don't tell anyone I'm a teacher. Anyway, he says he has the full support of the local community. I bet he does. And I'd love him as my doctor because he seems a very intuitive man to me. I'm not going anywhere. I just have to go back to school. So he's got to do these things. I mean, they're not that mega, are they? And as I say, it's not been struck off or anything like that. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think he should have received that punishment? Maybe it's good that he receives some sort of punishment. So thank you, Paul, but I wish I was, but I'm not. Sorry, I'm looking through the chat now. I've never had pumpkin coffee. Sorry. So I'm getting distracted by the chat. I shouldn't do that. But yeah, so let me know what you think. Do you think it's right that it got reprimanded? Do you think he should have been reprimanded? Because what they found was he didn't break any confidentiality. Because actually, that's the thing. A doctor's not supposed to talk. You go to the doctor, any condition you have or whatever is confidential, isn't it? And of course, that should be. But his defence was that he only discussed anything that had already been discussed openly anyway in the trial, etc. So, he wasn't breaking patient confidentiality. But anyway. Just to let you know, so it's not exactly mega his punishment, is it? It's just, I think personally that the medical board, they just feel like they've got to be seen to do something, that they can't just say, oh yeah, it was fine, but they've literally what's he got to do? 8 hours of training in topics including professional and ethics, professional communication, privacy and confidentiality in social media. And he must be mentored by another doctor for 5 hours a month for a period of 1 year. Well, you know what's going to happen there. He's going to go and see that doctor, whoever it is, and they'll probably go for nice lunch or something and chat about Erin Patterson. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, he doesn't need mentoring, does he, by a doctor? I mean, he's an experienced doctor. That just seems to be ridiculous, to be honest. But that's what he finds the most difficult, because it means he has to take a day off every week to travel to Melbourne, and he has less time with patients. And he said, ultimately, the community is getting punished as well, and that's disappointing. There's never been any question about my competency and skills as a doctor. It's all about my attitude and presentation. And maybe in this modern world, that kind of thinking might be a bit archaic. Yeah, I'm torn with that, because You know, I do think sometimes standards have slipped, haven't they? You know, like with politicians and things, they just say whatever they want. There's no gravitas. I sort of do hark back to the times when politicians who were still irritating even then, but at least, you know, they wouldn't come out with the things that politicians come out with these days. Well, it's a debate, isn't it? You know, time moves on, things change, you know, new generations coming up have different expectations. You know, is it in my mum and dad's generation, doctors were gods, never to be challenged about anything. What if the doctor told you it, you did it, you know, and that's how doctors like Harold Shipman were able to get away with what he got away with, killing all those people, because people trusted him implicitly. I do think people are more questioning now, and that's not a bad thing, is it? Not all doctors are perfect. Not all nurses are perfect. Not all anything are perfect. They're all human beings. So anyway, interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just like, it's like a slap on the wrist, do you think? Yeah. To tick the boxes, keep everyone happy. Yeah. Yeah. So, right. So we're going to have a little break now, because we're going to be talking, well, I say a little break, very little break. We're going to be talking, that's all I've got to say really about Erin. Well, it's not about Erin, about the doctor. We just have another little look at him. I personally, if he was my doctor, I'd be very happy. You know, he seems like an intuitive guy. You know, he had us sussed from day one. As you know, when you work with people a lot like that, you do get intuitive about people, don't